Oh, good morning once again, fans of Blue Smoke and Black Ink. A 30-second chat with some of America's finest writers. And today we have part two of one of the best writers and one of my oldest friends, Joe Citro. Joe, how you doing?
I'm very well, Jim. Thank you. I'm as well as can be expected. I'm ambulating, taking nourishment,
Picking
receiving.
them up, putting them down every day. That away, Joe. Way to go. Well, I had a great time reminiscing with you on the first chat. I've got a bunch of things I'd like to ask you about, but maybe you want to continue some of your thoughts that cut us short. I noticed Zoom, I have to start paying after 40 minutes. So I cut you off so quick, your head was probably spinning. I didn't want any money coming out of my pocket. But anyway, go ahead.
No, well, I don't know where we left off. Do you want to? We were. I'm not sure if we were talking about writing so much as we were talking about my adventure with the in the spirit realms.
Oh yeah, those are great. Oh, I know what I think it's related to this. I don't know if this is the Joe Citro folklore or reality, but whenever I mention you to people, I say that you have one question you ask whenever you're entering a museum. Do you have any idea what that one question Joe Citro asks is?
Well, I do. I mean, I'm the perpetrator. After I always ask if they have any shrunken heads.
Right, exactly.
I,
I'm
I,
glad you
I'm
remembered
on
that.
a
And
search
you
for
always use the
heads because,
plural because if they say just one shrunken head, you're not that interested. But if they have shrunken heads, you're paying the price of admission.
well, yeah, and it's all part of the biggest mystery of all, and that is what happened to the shrunken heads. Um, a lot of museums used to display them.
Yeah.
Now they don't.
Oh, really?
And it's a politically correct thing, I think. When I was researching the book Curious New England, I asked a, f- a few a few museums that I knew had shrunken heads because I'd seen them, and I said, "What happened to the shrunken heads?" Well, we don't exhibit those, so
Oh,
there's a they're taboo now.
but they do keep them,
Politically
I'm
incorrect.
sure.
So
I
that's
remember taking a field trip with a bunch of high school students to the UVM museum, and we we they were showing us some mummies, not funk shrunken heads, but mummies. And the curator said, "But do you know one thing we don't have in this museum?" And one of my students said, "Yeah, respect for the dead." So maybe that's the same thing that's keeping those shrunken heads
good.
off the shelves.
Yeah, I'm not so much interested in the heads themselves, but the phenomenon of why they vanished. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. You don't ask that question when you're entering a restaurant or a quick stop, do you? It's just museums.
well, you have to be in certain parts of the world where they're likely to have such things on the menu, but not here. But I did tell you, I don't know, I'm not sure if I told you the story about the time I had dinner with um, the marketing director at one of my publishers and her
No.
husband. And of course, during the course of the dinner table conversation, the subject of shrunken heads came up. And this guy, not the marketing director, but her husband, was an anthropology professor at Dartmouth College. And he said there was no such thing as haunted as shrunken heads, that they
Oh.
didn't exist, it didn't happen. Well, I knew better. And I argued as best I could, but I didn't have the credentials. I mean, he was the guy with the PhD who taught at an Ivy League school. I was just a schmucky writer, getting a free meal from my marketing director. So I sort of lost the argument, but there's plenty of proof that I was right and he was wrong. But
Yeah, you could even
why would
find
he say
physical
that?
proof.
Why would he say that? That was I've never quite recovered from that.
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah.
How do they shrink the heads, Joe? Do they boil them?
I don't know. As I said, I'm not so much interested in the shrunken heads as the phenomenon of where they went.
Where they
And
went, yeah.
makes you wonder what other kinds of things are just being not being exhibited for, when I long before I got this idea for the book about murders and executions, long time ago, this guy I used to know named Peter Mallory was the director of the Vermont Historical Society, the State Historical Society. This is right after they had moved their quarters from Montpelier to an empty school in Barrie, the Spalding School, and that was going to be the new headquarters. So I was visiting Peter Mallory, and in the course of the conversation, we got around to talking about the electric chair. And, and Peter said, that should be here somewhere in the museum. So he and I
Wow.
spent a good amount of time going through the museum, going into the basement, picking up tarpaulins that covered empty cartons and things like that, trying to find the electric chair.
Yeah.
We couldn't find it. Here's the director of the museum, and he couldn't find the electric chair.
That'd be great for
I-
the book you're working on now if you could find it. I wonder if it's still around.
Well, I have since found out where it is, and um, it hasn't been destroyed or anything, but the Historical Society's policy as of now is we're not going to exhibit it. We've got it, but we're not going to exhibit it. Makes you wonder if they got shrunken heads.
Yeah. Good
So
point. Good point.
I'm on it. I'm gonna go through this and figure it out.
Well, you remember that old show Cold Shack with Darren McGavin, and also another favorite of yours, I forget the name of it, where the man and woman would uh, investigate psychic phenomena. Maybe there should be a TV series in this for Joe Citro. Joe Citro search for shrunken heads and electric chairs,
Or not.
or not.
There's always, there's always that alternative. Yeah, but it's just kind of interesting. The whole realm of the supernatural and the occult and as a cultural phenomenon. Um, it's
Yeah, I
I
think.
don't know, I don't know quite. Um, I'm not really an investigator. I mean, what I do is I collect stories, and it's immaterial to me whether the stories are true or not.
Yeah,
If they're not true, I still might include the story in my book, but there'll be an afterward that says, there's very little reason to believe any of this. This is a good story. Maybe it came from this or this or this. But I'm not really an investigator or a scientist or historian or anything like that. I just like stories.
yeah.
And
I think that the seventh grade teacher of yours, I forget his name, who said, "Young man, you're interested in strange things, aren't you?" Hit you right on the head, and he really outlined the course of your life. You've always been interested in things like that. I guess going right back, did I read once with your dad telling you stories about supernatural and things like
yeah,
that?
well, he certainly had an eye for that kind of thing, and um, he was just like an old time Vermont storyteller in a way. He had lived in the area and he knew all the people and he knew all the stories that people told. And we'd go driving around on. I used to go on these Sunday drives with my father, and he would take us up into the hills, and we talked to some old farmers, and sat out on their porch or their piazza, and
Yeah,
palaver. And I wasn't too interested in it, except when the story turned around to like murders,
yeah.
monsters, ghosts, things like that. My father could always he'd be driving along and he'd point to a house and he'd say, that's a haunted house over there."
Oh, wow.
And he'd tell the story, and he'd tell the story of that guy in Cavendish, which was the neighboring town, the Phineas Gage story, where
Yeah.
this railroad man got a tamping rod blasted through his head. Um, And I mean, that really happened. And I know where it happened. My father got the story wrong. He thought the the tamping rod hadn't gone through the guy's head, but just lodged inside his head. And when he went to the doctor cut it off at both sides and left 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 it inside because the
Oh,
doctor was
wow.
afraid to, pull the thing out of his head for
And
that
wasn't his,
didn't happen. That's what my father thought happened, but that didn't
but
happen.
what wasn't the man's entire personality changed from that
Yeah,
point on?
yeah, he sort of destabilized, I guess, and became more primitive and um, more uncouth, and he's lost whatever it is that allows us to um, control our behavior. It allows us to stop saying a bad thing before we actually say it. He lost those sorts of things, and he just never became. He was apparently never the reliable, stable character that he had been before he had that
Boy,
accident. He became famed among I guess like neuroscientists and neurosurgeons just because of because he survived
yeah.
and so they have annual, maybe not annual, but occasional conferences there in Cavendish where that happened. His skull and the tamping bar, as I recall, are on exhibit in Boston um, at the Warren Anatomical Museum, which is somewhere. I can't remember exactly where it is, but
Wow.
you can actually see his skull, believe it or not.
Yeah, the
Not
fact that he
shrunken.
survived is as amazing as anything, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's no end
He-
of
In
these
fact,
stories.
in fact, he never even lost consciousness. The thing knocked him down, and
Wow.
his friends got him up and took him to the doctors, and the doctor took very careful notes, which is one of the reasons this case is famous. The doctor
Boy,
did such a good job of recording what he saw and what he did and finished his recovery.
boy, I have a copy of Curious New England here somewhere, and I think you tell that story in the book, don't you?
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit in there.
Let's
That
see.
book, I don't think that book's in print anymore. So,
Here's
um,
some of your newer books that I've
yeah,
been, I'm
yeah,
not sure if the stories are in either one of those. And you always work with good artists, don't you, Joe?
yeah. This was a series that Robert Brunel and I started. My stories and his illustrations. And we've got a total of three out at the moment. Um,
Yeah, I have the third here.
anyway, yeah, that's it. Um, and we were going to our plan was to extend that series. We had 13 titles planned,
Wow.
um, but I don't think we can do it. They just weren't selling very well, and
Oh,
it just didn't effort. If you write three books and they don't sell very well, maybe they're not going to. So we have gone different directions now.
you also have an excellent artist, I forget his name, who worked on your latest book, the short story
Yeah,
collection.
Corey Furman.
Yeah.
Furman. Yeah, he did the cover, and I don't know, is that in focus? I can't tell.
Yeah, that is now. Hold it like
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah,
he,
illustrated by Corey Furman. Just a great job. A completely different style than Burnell, but both
yeah,
equally effective. And I think it,
here's one of the interior illustrations. I really like what Corey does. Uh,
yeah,
he
really powerful.
yeah, he's a good guy. He's fun to work with. And um, yeah, I don't. They're both really good. Robert is a really good artist. Corey is a really good artist, but they're in different worlds.
Yeah,
Robert's illustrations are a little more, I don't know, cartoonish, you might say.
yeah, yeah.
Corey's are a little more literal.
And I
Uh,
just noticed you worked with a third illustrator who's a very good friend of yours,
yep.
Steve Bissett. I didn't realize he had done these illustrations. Do you still see Steve once in a while?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. We haven't had any projects together, but we're still kicking around.
I'm still amazed. I always say that I would like to walk into that guy's head for about 2 minutes and look around because he's incredible. The stuff he does on Facebook and the things he collects and the facts he knows. He's a deep, deep guy, isn't he?
Well, he is. He's he's got probably the best memory of anybody I've ever encountered. Um, I'll be trying to think of the title of a movie or something like that, and he'll know it
Yeah,
right off, and he'll not only know the title, but the director and all the actors and who did
yeah,
and who did the costumes. It's just incredible. Random access recall, you might call.
yeah. And it's
I'm
physical
wondering,
collection too.
pardon me?
Physical things too. Like he has,
Yeah,
doesn't he
yeah,
have houses and houses of DVDs and videos and
yeah,
books and things like that, comic books?
yeah. He's a very good consumer. He's
Yeah, yeah,
he
amazing
does
guy.
he doesn't hold back. He doesn't have he had to have extra room built in his house to house house his collections. And then
Yeah.
not only that, but he's got a storage head behind his house, and
Wow.
he's got a lot of stuff. And
Yeah. Every
and the
so
amazing
often,
thing
every two
is,
or 3 years, he'll post something about clearing everything out and getting rid of everything. And then there it is again the next
yeah,
month. Or
yeah.
maybe it's a whole new collection. I don't know.
Well, he
But
keeps the post office in business, and we have to thank him for that. He's
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Let's talk about some of your contacts with lesser writers like Stephen King. You actually have met or corresponded or know Stephen King, didn't you? Not
uh,
like our friend Tony Magistrali does, but
yeah.
King is known as the Joe Citro of Maine, and you know him.
I had a chance once to meet him. Um, I didn't go to writers' conventions back in the days when he was just starting out, and he was going to conventions, and a lot of people met him. But I he I got invited to the premiere of one of his movies that was going to be shown on the UVM campus. And Tony Magistrali was orchestrating that. Tony's written a lot of
Yeah.
uh, books about Stephen King's work, so they know each other in that context. And he, hey, where'd you go?
I'm getting Tony's book. We
Oh,
might as well plug
yeah,
Capo
yeah.
Tones too.
So here's a book about um, by Tony Magistrali about Stephen King, and one of many. And so I got invited to go to UVM to the premiere of Stephen King's film. I forget which one it was, but um, Stephen King was going to be there, and the director was going to be there, and I think, of course, Tony was going to be there. Tony was hosting it, but I chose not to go because I, I, I'd seen a few of the Stephen King films or adaptations of his, and I just didn't like them, the ones I had seen.
Oh, really?
And in some cases, I knew the book, and I didn't think the film did that good of a representation of the book. So I just chose not to go because I knew I was going to be part of a fairly small audience, and I knew I was going to be asked for critical feedback. And they didn't want to say, Steve, it sucked. It was, I
Yeah.
I avoid the element. That's my motto.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Unable to attend is what my
Yeah,
daughter Angie would
so
say.
I didn't go. I
I'm
wonder if
unable to
Tony
attend.
remembers that. Tony would. I might write an email to Tony after we talk and see if he remembers what film it was and everything. But that
Oh,
was kind of
I think, didn't Stephen King actually direct one of his movies? I think it was about big trucks or something, and it wasn't very good.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I don't, I don't, I haven't seen anywhere near all of them. I mean, Stephen King is really amazing to me. If I were going to write a book about like the wonders of the literary world, he would be in it because uh, he, honest to God, that guy writes faster than I can read.
Yeah.
He is so incredibly prolific. It's just a
Yeah.
phenomenon. It's just I just can't believe it. I can't believe anybody can produce so many books. And really, from judging from what I've read, they're the ones I haven't read anywhere near all of them, but the ones I've read have been, very engaging and competently written. And
And some of them 1,000 pages long.
yeah, I mean, who
Mm,
wants to read 1,000-page book?
yeah.
But he's just amazing. He's just
Yeah.
amazing. And
You've had a bunch of your books not made into movies, but optioned for movies in the
yeah,
process, haven't you? What were some of those, Joe?
it was all the novels but one have been optioned.
Wow.
And the one that was never optioned was The Gore. And I suspect I know why, um
Why's that?
but if I tell you why it's never optioned, I'll be giving away the punchline of the book. So I can't talk about it.
Okay.
Um it has to do with shrunken heads. Um, yeah, A Shadow Child, which is my first published novel, second novel I wrote, but it was first published novel. That's been optioned probably like 8 times or something like that,
Wow.
and it never made it all the way to the screen. It's just been such a frustration. So at this point, I've pretty much given up. I don't have anybody. I don't have an agent who's trying to sell it to the movie makers. So I don't have an agent at all anymore. I gave up on that.
But
So
you still you got money for every one of those options, didn't you? They paid you?
well, all but one. Uh,
Oh,
I I agreed to there was a guy who I sort of liked, and he was a beginning filmmaker, and he was here in Vermont, and I had this notion that I'd like to see this Vermont story filmed in Vermont with Vermont actors and a Vermont filmmaker. So this guy was going to make all that happen. So I said, well, I'll give you a free option for X amount of time.
oh,
But he wasn't able to pull it together
hmm.
in that amount of time. And I finally said, well, this is not going to work. So,
Okay.
but if you give a free option, there's really no incentive to get on it and get it done. You know,
You know, maybe some of your books haven't been made into movies, but I remember a short story of yours being filmed. It must have been back in the 80s or 90s. And the thing I remember about it is that was before people knew what drones were. And
yeah,
there was a shot in that movie of a drone, of a car driving, shot from a drone, probably 20 years before people were using drones. I don't remember the specifics of that. Do you?
I remember quite a bit about it. Yeah. Um, yeah, the story is um, reprinted in this book. It's one of the stories I talk about that. In fact, um, that story is called, geez, I'm forgetting, Soul Keeper. Soul Keeper. And yeah, um, this guy named Tim Joy, who was the director, was really creative. He made a good film. It's a good film adaptation. Um, but he did some really creative things with it. He had this model helicopter that was pretty big, that was remote controlled, and he strapped a video camera on that, and he was getting these beautiful overhead shots that were in fact helicopter shots, but they were, a little remote controlled helicopter that he had, and he got these. I mean, that movie looked like it must have cost a fortune to make. I don't really know what the budget was, but it
And
was.
and he not only could control the helicopter, but he could somehow control the video camera on the helicopter. And that's 20 years before people were doing that. That's amazing.
Well, yeah, it was very, he was very creative. And he should have been directing films. I think he didn't, there's so many people who are good filmmakers who never come to the public attention in the same way that there are an awful lot of really good writers who either can't sell their stuff or their stuff just never gets an audience. It's just the ratio is not in the favor of the artist, that's for sure.
Yeah. I worry about my grandson. He's a talented filmmaker and has already gotten a lot of awards, but he's just last month started school at DePaul University in Chicago in filmmaking. So I wish him the best.
Yeah, I do too. It's very brave. I don't know if people going into the arts really know what they're going to be up against, but they'll,
Yeah. Just
they'll
like writers, though.
yeah, those are among the arts, Jim.
Oh,
I
are they really? I always considered it more of a, I don't know, a time waster, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just speaking from
paper waster.
experience.
Yeah. No, let's go. Maybe he'll be the one who brings Shadow Child to the screen.
Oh yeah, I've given all of my books to him in a collator to the will to my will. So when I
Yeah.
pass on, James the Third has all of the books. I wanted to mention something else. Oh, so many different things here. Oh, here's a question for you. In all of your research and all of your writing, with the things that you thought might be happening and might not, have you ever been scared? Have you ever just sat there and said, "Oh, this is scary," or hasn't that ever happened to you?
Um, just to clarify, do you mean have I ever been in a situation that was scary?
Yeah, or even just read about something that possibly happened that kept you awake that night. Either one.
Oh man, that's so hard because I I'm I've been losing a lot of sleep lately. I don't like what's happening in the country. And that I don't think you're asking about that, and I don't really want to rant about that,
No, but go ahead.
but it is frightening. It's absolutely frightening. And I think part of the appeal of scary stories and horror fiction, horror movies is that yeah, we're using all our get scared muscles, but there's an end to it, and we know when we turn the last page or when the final titles come up, we'll be okay. We get
Yeah,
scared we get our adrenaline rushes. We feel fear through empathy and identification with characters. But yeah, I think I've been well. I tell the story in False Memories about the time this guy came to one of my readings with a gun, and that was scary.
yeah,
And I got scared when I was with the Warrens a little bit. Ed Warren t- turned me loose in his museum. He had this demonic museum in which he had souvenirs from their various alleged cases, including the infamous Annabelle doll that supposedly comes to life and walks around and messes with people. And he let me go in there and look around at all this horrific stuff. And 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 he said, Joe, don't touch anything. If you touch something, the demonic might come into you. So if you happen to touch something, let me know. And me or Lorraine will say a prayer or something and get rid of it. So I was kind of walking around with my arms kind of
yeah,
strapped to my side and looking. Yeah, that was scary. It's the power of suggestion
yeah.
and the atmosphere of the place. Meanwhile, he was outside raking leaves.
Eating
So,
cookies.
yeah,
Joe, I've just been notified by Zoom that they want to start charging me money. And
Okay.
even though I'm really enjoying this conversation, I'm not going to put any money out of my own pocket. So we're going to call an end to
Okay,
Citro
Jim.
interview number two. I want to thank you again, not only for being a pal all these 40 years, but for doing this great job of launching this podcast. If it
Well,
goes nowhere, it's already been a success in my mind. Just talking to you, seeing you has just been great.
well, Jim, good luck with this and have fun with it.
Yeah.
If you can send me a copy of it, that would be great because I'm having fun too. And this is the only way I get together with you these days is via the internet. So
Yeah, I think I can do that. I know Zoom tapes it and gives me a file, so
yep,
I'll try to put that into an email for you.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
take care, pal.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks again. You're the best.
Adios.